Hi, in this video we'll try to study a vertical circular motion problem in a real situation. We will try to study with a video which I'll play together with you. So just stay in this video and we'll watch it together.
Welcome back. Right, I'm really excited about this next item because it's the biggest and bestest thing fifth gear has ever done.
Hell yeah, check this out. Who remembers these? Hot Wheels Loop the Loop. Come on, Tom, send one down.
There we go.
Yes, but what we wanted to know...
Alright, so I'm not sure if you have played this before, but if you went to the physics field trip with me in the ocean park 2 years ago, then probably you remember there was one group, hopefully you're that group, who could build the roller coaster model. So you were given the materials, so you can kind of adjust the track to make as many loops as possible. So this is more or less the same thing.
Could you do that in a real-life family-sized car?
Yeah, we gave the job to our friendly neighbourhood stuntman Steve Trulia, but we wanted some questions answering first. How fast would he have to go? Would the car stick to the road? And would he black out under the G-forces?
Alright, so this is basically the same question that we are going through, and we're trying to verify the result and also their theory also.
Steve Trulia is the man facing this monster challenge. As fifth gear's head of danger, he's rolled, crashed and crashed again in numerous fifth gear stunts. But even by these extreme standards, nothing can prepare him for our most dangerous stunt yet. Clearly, scaling a toy up to a record-breaking 40 feet high using 5 tons of steel and a real-life motor was going to be dangerous. So we sent Steve to Cambridge University's Dr.
Wait, how tall is it again? Because that is the information that we need.
Nothing can prepare him for our most dangerous stunt yet. Clearly, scaling a toy up to a record-breaking 40 feet high using 5 tons of steel and a real-life motor.
Okay, so 40 feet high, I suppose that is the diameter from the ground to the top of this loop. Okay, assuming this is a circle. Of course, I mean, it may not be perfect circle, but we'll assume that will be a circle, and also the diameter of this will be 40 feet. So I guess you can convert that back to meter. Alright, never mind, I'll convert that to you. So that should be 12.192 meter. So that's quite a lot. It's about four floors. That's actually very, very tall.
So we sent Steve to Cambridge University's Dr. Hugh Hunt to find out how fast he'd have to go.
Alright, so before I show you this, how about we calculate it ourselves to see whether or not, you know, our calculation would fit with this professor's answer. Alright, so let me just clarify the question once again with you all. So we have got the diameter of this to be 12.192 meter, right? Yes. Okay. And so if we would, I mean, if you want to use it, then you can use it. If you want the radius, then you can divide by 2. So how about we just try to apply what we learned in mechanics, chapter 2, and in terms of energy. How about that? So imagine you have the car right here. Then, okay, let me use black color. Okay, yeah, the car going in. That's the best I can draw. Sorry. The question is how much speed, minimum speed, do you need to have, including your car, in order to get through it, right? And so obviously, in order to get through a loop, the most critical question is whether or not you can stay with the loop, like the ground or the track itself, at the top, right? So this is at the top. So this is the biggest issue. I mean, if you can pass through that, then the rest will not be a big problem. So right now, what I want you to do is, can you try to use the energy approach to solve this problem? So that is to say, think about what kind of energy you have here and what kind of energy that you have here, and try to use that to justify the speed that you need when you enter the loop, so that you can at least reach to the top. In fact, this approach is going to be wrong.
NANI?
Actually, right? Then you may wonder, like, why do you ask me to do that? I'll explain to you later on. Okay, so just try to think about this, right? If you want this car at a certain speed enter this loop, and it could reach the top at least. How much speed do you need? Pause the video, calculate it, and check the answers with me later on.
A few moments later.
Alright, in case you're wondering what you should set about the mass of the car, you actually don't need to know that, because if you think about the equation about energy conservation, then you would have KE and you have GPE, alright, plus a bit of KE, but then since we assume the minimum amount of energy, then you can say this KE is 0 if you just think about the car only reaching the top. Okay, so the conversion between energy is simply the KE at the beginning before you start to climb until it reaches the top, which is the GPE. So the equation would simply be KE equals to GPE, and so half mv squared equals to mgh. So in this case, you can see that the m will get cancelled out, so it doesn't really matter how heavy the car is or how many people are in the car, so the m will get cancelled out anyway. So then you'll find out g, let's say this is 10, and h is what they said, 12.192. And so by calculating with your calculator, then you should get the speed to be 15.6 roughly. Okay, and so like I said, this is a wrong answer actually. Can you think of why? Why is this the wrong answer? Why this is not the speed that we need? In fact, the speed that they need to attain when they enter the loop has to be higher. Pause the video, think about it first, and then I'll explain to you later.
2,000 years later.
Alright, so let me explain to you. Some of you may be thinking, hey, is it because there are some friction and so you need more energy at the beginning in terms of the KE? The answer is no, it's not about friction. Remember, for the car to move forward, actually it's the friction helping the car moving forward. So friction should not be considered here. You may argue air resistance, and I would say yes, air resistance actually will take up some energy from the KE, so not all the KE will convert to GPE. That's true, but then the amount of air resistance probably is quite insignificant because this is kind of like a not semi-closed area, and also this is not actually very fast, so it's not going to be a lot. And there are another very fatal issue that we have in this problem. The answer is that, think about this. Like we said, right, we are trying to get the car to the top only, and we just simply hope that as long as you can reach the top, then it can pass through the loop. But this is a naive idea.
You lied to me!
Yes, I was kind of lying, but then I'm not trolling. Okay, doing this can help you understand way better in circular motion. So let me explain to you. Think about this. If you reach the top with the GPE and KE to be 0, that means your velocity will also be 0. So think about this. What will happen when you reach the top then? Right, where the car reaches the top. That would be similar to like some of the cartoon where like you have seen I can't remember like what is, it's not Tom and Jerry, but there's another kind of animal, like two chasing each other, and then usually like when one chase up to here without paying attention, this is a cliff, and then somehow that character will just stop and then look down and then start to fall, right? Of course that is defying the physics. But what I'm trying to say here is, if the car has 0 speed, then what happened would be the car will simply go down like this, or maybe at a tiny bit of inertia it will go something like this, right? Tiny towards the left, but then it won't be able to stick with the track if 0 is the speed that you get at the top. So you really have to apply the centripetal formula, that is simply F equals to ma. However, F will be referring to centripetal force, which is the net force that is the car experiencing at the top, equals to ma, A being the centripetal acceleration. So I would strongly recommend you to try yourself first. Think about the force, the net force that the car will have at the top by drawing the free body diagram. Okay, and for A, think about what equation you can use, which you have learned from the previous video, and see whether you can figure out the speed by yourself. So pause the video, try now. If you did it wrong, that's fine, and then we can check the answers together.
Master, moving stones around is one thing. This is totally different.
No different. Only different in your mind.
Okay, so firstly, let me remind you just to put a cross here, okay? So remind yourself this approach should not be used. And so let's start with the free body diagram. When the car is at the top, the only forces that the car will have will be weight and in fact the reaction force as well. Okay, reaction force is always away from the surface that is supporting you, so it will be also downward. So these two forces will act as the centripetal force in your case. So that will be R plus W equals to M. As for A, we actually know the radius R, which should equal to 12.192 divided by 2. So R should equal, let me just calculate this first. 192 divided by 2, so about, well, shall we just take a 6? Okay, never mind, just take the full value. Alright. I don't even know their abstract, so anyway, let's just take this. So we got to know R, and we will have to know is velocity. So I guess the easiest equation that we can recall will simply be v squared over R. That's one of the equation. So if you are not familiar with that, you can refer to the data booklets directly. It's totally fine. And so the next thing is, since we are trying to find the minimum speed, okay, you can go faster. And think about this, if you go really fast, then how is that different in this equation? Think about this. If you want to think about this, then maybe think about what is being constant first. So W has to be constant, you can't change it. Mass is constant, you can't change it. R is constant, you cannot change it. So the only way, or only like things that will get changed when somehow the car say move faster than it has to be, then the only thing that's different would be V and also R. So that means when you go faster, then the reaction force would be greater. So if you can somehow recall maybe one of the ride that you did in the ocean park or some other theme park, this is a similar idea. When you go really quick on the roller coaster, for example, you feel the chair is giving you a force pushing you. Alright, so this is one of the examples that I'm trying to say, and you can see the people are now feeling relaxed because it's not accelerated. But when it gets faster, of course you hear them screaming. But the most important thing is, how can they maintain this circular motion? So let me just freeze this screen and to show you. Alright, so first of all, this is the center of the circle, and say this person, okay? So then this is the radius of, you know, the circle that I think he is making. And then you can see this is his hand, this is his leg. Alright, sorry for my bad drawing. But then think about the forces acting on this person. That would be, of course, the reaction force from this side of the wall. And if you have ever, you know, rolled on this one, you know that the machine is kind of throwing you out. And so the only chance that you can survive through this is you either hold the handlebar tightly. So part of the force is actually given by the bar, so that the force can also maintain this person's circular motion. But mainly, I would say, is because when you sit there, you kind of lean onto this side of the chair, and so that's the force that you experience to maintain your circular motion. And again, the faster you spin, this feeling will get stronger, and that's because the reaction force is getting bigger as well. Without the reaction force, as if you don't have this layer of the chair, then this person will just simply get flown out. Alright, so this is the implication of this equation. However, in our case study here, we are not trying to find out when they go faster or what. Alright, we are trying to find out the minimum speed required when you enter the loop. So think about the minimum. In this case, the reaction force when you are at minimum, but you are still touching it, then you can imagine the reaction force is barely 0. So it could be like 0.0001 Newton, right? Barely touching it. Then that is probably the minimum. And so in this case, we can simply just take it as 0. So here, let me just erase this, right? And so this is going to be R equal to 0 when V is minimum. Right? Notice that this V is not the V when you enter the loop, it's a V when you are at the top. Okay, that's different. So in this case, then we can just to solve this equation, weight is mg, so once again m will get cancelled out, so it doesn't really matter. That means you can, in fact, later on when we try to find out the velocity required, if you can do cycling with that speed, right, when you enter the loop, it's all the same. Alright, it's the same requirement for the velocity, because you can already see m is already taken out from the equation. And so just by solving it, then we have 10 to be g, 6.096 to be r, and v squared. V is the answer that we are looking for. So after you root it, then you get 7.8076 something, and so I probably would just round it up to 7.8 meter per second, or 7.81. Alright, because this is not even the final answer. So if you have the speed here to be 7.81, sorry, then at the bottom, this time really you can use the energy approach to calculate. So let's not forget you still have the GPD here. So now KD is not 0, it's somewhat calculated by this velocity. Okay, and so we can try to do it here. So we can have GPE plus KE2, actually this is 2, equal to KE1. You can actually write GPE 1 as well, but that's basically 0 if you set the ground level as 0 potential. Anyway, so we can have, again, let me just write the general formula mgh. This is my habit, and I love if you have that habit too. So how about we put this as u to indicate this is the initial speed when you enter the loop. And again, as we all expect, the m will get cancelled out. G being 10, h was 12.192 half, and this v is the one that we get. So in fact, we can somehow actually do 660, right? 60, and never mind. I'll just do what we get. All right, and half u squared. So just to solve this, then you should get something like this, which is 17.459 something. I'll round up to, well, 2 sig figs, so 17 or 17.5. But then notice that again, in the real situation where there will be some other issues like, if you just see this on the car speed meter, by the way, this is meter per second. So if we convert that, I'm not sure which one they use. If they use km per hour, then this should be by conversion. I'm pretty sure you know how to do it, so I'm not going to tell you the details. That should be more or less equivalent to 63 km per hour. And in fact, this is not fast at all. Think about all the public transport that you've been doing. Like the minibus in Hong Kong is always like 90 km per hour. And 63 is not even the limit. So it seems not hard at all, but then of course in reality you may want to go more than that just to be safe. So probably 70, I don't know which one they do. We'll continue to watch a video later on, but then that's the speed you need in order to finish this looping the loop with such a diameter. So like I said, if you could somehow cycle with a bike in such a speed, then in theory you can do that, but I don't think anyone could really do this. So, alright, let's continue to watch.
Now listen carefully.
2r plus a half v in squared.
Starting to cook my brain a bit now.
36
About
miles per
36 miles an hour.
Okay.
You know what we haven't
They use mile per hour. Okay, then we have to change. Okay, then we have to double check it. So 36 miles per hour. Well, let's just Google it. Oh wow, this is a bit strange. So the answer is somewhat 58, roughly 58 km per hour. Let me just write it down. 58 km per hour from the, like, I don't know, was it a Cambridge professor? I don't know what account for the difference between my answer and their answer. I think I just now try to do 9.81, like substitute 9.1 for G instead of 10, but then my answer is not going to change a lot. It's like 17.2 something, right? That's not going to be a lot of change anyway. So I honestly have no idea. Maybe they somehow have a more precise measurement with the 40 feet height, maybe. I don't know. If you know somehow, suggest any possible reason down below in the comment section. Maybe, I'm just thinking, maybe they also account for the car can also output, certain energy, so that maybe along the whole way, then at the beginning you don't need to have that much of speed, because you can still kind of input energy into the car by burning the fuel along the whole arc, maybe. Okay, so in our model we didn't account that. How we did is more like there's a marble ball, right? Doesn't burn any fuel, and the ball will just reach to that speed, which is, like we said, 63 km per hour. Then that ball should be able to complete the whole loop directly. Okay, so yeah, let me know if you have any thoughts.
Is what are the g-forces you're going to experience? Because you want to know whether you're going to black out or not. The total g-force you will experience as you enter this loop will be 6g.
It gives me a bit more confidence.
Alright, so the idea of 6g is saying that normally when you are sitting here right now, then you're experiencing 1g. So like if you are 70 kg, then you feel like yourself to be 70 kg. In a case where, for example, if you are having a rocket launch, not the real rocket, but if you imagine you kind of accelerate towards upward, then you experience a greater g-force, and that is, say, if it's say 2g, then that means you feel like you are 140 kg, because that's the amount of force that is you can feel on your body. And that is to say, when you are at 6g, that means it's 6 times of your own mass, in terms of the sensation, of course. The other thing that you may be wondering is what he said about a term called blackout. And if you haven't heard about it, then let me just explain quickly. This is something to do with the inertia of your blood. Okay, so in your body, so certain portion of it is will be the blood, and so when you're experiencing such a high g-force going up, let's say, normally, like, imagine your body is like a balloon. Okay, so this is a balloon. That's the best I can draw. So inside, these are all water. So normally, if the balloon is there, then nothing happened, right? However, if the balloon, the skin of the balloon, or I mean the whole balloon itself, will try to go up very quickly, accelerate up quickly, then you can imagine how that would look like. If you suddenly pull the balloon up, then it will go pull could be like probably like this. All right, when you suddenly pull this up, and this is because the water, like this is the water originally. The water would have an inertia that remain at the same position. Okay, and so imagine these are the blood in your body. Then your blood will simply kind of stay at your lower part of your body, maybe your feet, instead of reaching your brain, and that would be very dangerous, because if there's no blood supply, that means there's no oxygen supplied to your brain, and that's why you get blackout, because your eye doesn't get oxygen as well, so then they can't work simply. And well, let's just talk about the other thing, right, that's related. The other opposite is called red out, and this is the opposite. So instead of going up, you can imagine the balloon. If you have a balloon and you somehow pull it down, then again the water, which is the blood in your body, will have an inertia. So probably something like, okay, I didn't draw very well, probably something like this. So the water, which again the blood, will be kind of stay at the top if you pull down so suddenly with a great acceleration. So this time we call it red out, because all the blood will kind of accumulate on your head, in your blood vessel, your brain, your eyeball, and so in that case, your blood vessel may be in danger because they are withstanding a high pressure, and so maybe you have a really red eye, or there may be some hazards to your blood vessels. Anyway, back here.
It's because of the science, but at the end of the day, I don't know if that's going to count when I'm staring at the track with my foot in the accelerator.
Wow, I hope this won't happen.
To lessen the chances of Steve blacking out at the wheel, he needed to get used to pulling 6G. The only place to do that was in this.
And here we go into the loop.
And by the way, I did this once as well in Hong Kong, in an airport called Saigon, and I was riding with a plane called Cap 10, which is this one. So it's an aerobatics plane. It's just specialized for aerobatics, so you can do different maneuver. So it was really exciting, way more amazing than simply taking a roller coaster. When you are doing the roll, the looping the loop, literally you feel your seatbelt, it's literally upside down, and your head are almost hitting the glass of the canopy. Well, of course, not as much, right? Don't fancy about me. I didn't do like 6G, of course, right? It's just doing a simple maneuver, right? Not as harsh as this one. And by the way, just a fun fact for jet fighter pilot, those military jet fighter pilots, guess how many G they need to be trained in order to be, a military pilot? The answer is 9G. So 6G is not even the worst. 9G is like the basic standard of a jet fighter pilot. So you really have to have a really strong body, not just skill, not just knowledge and skills of controlling the plane, also a very strong muscular body in order to become a military pilot.
Stunt day. The day fifth gear finds out if you really can drive a car around a 40-foot high loop-the-loop. If successful, stuntman Steve Trulia will set a new world record. If he fails and falls out of the loop, the massive deceleration forces as he hits the ground could be fatal. The entry speed is therefore literally a matter of life or death. So Steve verified the car's speedo with GPS,
36, 37.
and then checked again with a calibrated radar gun. 36 miles an hour.
Actually, I don't know why he doesn't wear a helmet. Right? I think he should do that, and yeah, why not maybe getting a better car? I don't know.
It had been calculated as the ideal entry speed. Slower than this, and he'd fall. Much faster, and the G-forces would knock him unconscious and exert a dangerous force on the ramp's structure. The Toyota Aygo Steve had chosen for the stunt had been heavily modified to make it strong enough and hopefully safe enough should
Oh, he got a helmet. Okay, fine.
things go wrong.
Here we go. This is it.
And by the way, he got to aim very carefully as well. I mean, imagine if, I mean, you know, this is a very narrow track actually. So if there's any mistake, that is not about the speed, it's not about it's about the steering direction, that could be fatal also.
This is it. We're going in too fast. And here we go.
Whoa. Okay, so I hope you see that the car is really sticking with the track very well, and yeah, it's not by luck, it's really by, of course, a lot of measurement, calculation, and by physics. So this is how you can predict, and this is how people, those engineers who build roller coaster or any other rides, they have to rely on a lot of mechanics knowledge and a lot of calculation in order to do that, and of course simulation as well.
Fantastic! It was so light at the top. I really thought I'd lost it. I felt weightless. I thought, I'm falling. I'm so glad that I stayed in touch with the road all the way around. As soon as
one thing that I want you to pay attention is he said he felt it is weightless, and that's something we'll talk about in the future. Weightless is when you don't have much reaction force that you can feel. So it's not about your weight is really being zero. Your weight is always the same. I mean, in this level, it's more or less the same. It's like m times g anyway. But then the reaction force that he could feel is almost zero. So that's why he felt it is almost weightless. And that's an idea in physics that we will need to learn in the future.
I left the ramp, just a complete feeling of joy and elation.
Dr. Hugh Hunt's analysis revealed how close we'd come to disaster. Just 2.5 miles an hour slower and Steve would have fallen.
And here we go.
1 mile an hour faster and the extra friction caused by the scraping would have made him fall as well. Steve hit it spot on, so take a moment to savour the world record for driving a car around the largest loop-the-loop. Chances are you'll never see it executed so perfectly ever again.
Okay, so this is it. Alright, so that's all for this video. In this video, you've learned about the difference between looping the loop or just reaching the top of the loop. So there is a difference between them. So from now on, you can apply the circular motion equation onto it. And by the way, I'll recommend you to go and check out this game. If you see those looping the loop in this game called the Sonic the Hedgehog, try to check whether or not they follow the law of physics closely. I'm Mr. Wong. If you like this video, please thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. I'll see you again next time. Bye bye.